My aunt stopped him and asked, "Why didn't you tell us you were alone with her? You never told me she was sleeping." To say all hell broke loose would be an understatement. Like a switch, my mom almost immediately stopped loudly crying and looked over at my aunt confused. Ian started shaking his head and reiterating his version of the story, which, listening to it, was infuriatingly off. I'd figured out that not only did he tell Mom and our extended family a version of the story in which Lola was all too violent with him when he jumped from behind a door to give her a little spook, but he left out the details that put him in any bad light. I started yelling again, calling him a liar, but he started crying and called me a liar who was just trying to lie for my girlfriend. At the sight of my brother crying, my mom pleaded with us to stop, my aunt scrolling more on the screen. It felt like both a minute and forever that we were yelling in each other's faces about how the night went, how I felt he always used his tears to get his way, him yelling at me about how ungrateful I always was, etc. Unfortunately, I forgot where we were and didn't keep the volume down at all, and some time later there was a knock at the door. I didn't know who it could be. Some dumb part hoped Lola, though I knew it wasn't. It was two officers, answering to a noise complaint from one of the neighbors. Feeling stupid, I plainly explained that no one was hurt and we were having a heated argument, but that no one was in danger. I did let them look around and talk to my mom and brother, but my aunt spoke up when it looked like they were just going to give us a warning. "Actually, I think it's good that you're here. My nephew has something he'd like to report." She motioned to Ian, whose eyes looked between her and the officers quickly. My aunt still looked as angry when she first arrived, but she was glaring at Ian. "You know, hypothetically, if someone touches or hits you without permission or justified reason, that's something you can and should report. Is there anything you want to say?" There was silence, eyes moving to everyone around the room. My aunt didn't look encouraging in a report. It hit me that she was calling him out. I stared at him, his eyes were bulging. He looked as panicked as the other night when he was trying to get away from Lola. One of the officers asked if everything was all right, and like clockwork, Ian started bawling his eyes out. My mom asked him what was wrong. I told her she had to stop babying him. "He's been lying to you guys." My aunt asking him again if he had anything to report. "You were up in arms against this girl this morning. Where'd all that fire go? Did she hit you or not?" It took a while of us pushing him, but he finally admitted to the room that he didn't have anything to report because he didn't feel like she'd be rightly prosecuted. His next story sounded closer to the one I knew, where he admitted to knowing Lola had gone to sleep and wanted to scare her so she'd wake up. I still don't believe his reason why he wanted her up, that he put on a mask. I asked if he knew she had a phobia. He said he knew she found them creepy, and that there was no one else in the room with them. He couldn't get any of our friends to agree to the prank, so he did it himself. He said he started making sounds against the wall, the bed was against the wall, and then got close to scream in her face. He said she woke up and surprised him because he thought the stress and panic would cause her to scream or hide, but she went for his throat instead. He described his beating to everyone in the room, some of which I saw had the officers look at each other then back at him. Then that's when I pushed the door in. The door wasn't locked. I just panicked and didn't think to use the doorknob properly. I just threw my body at the door, and the rest of his story is what I was there for. I'm sure if the police weren't there, I would have hit him. I know I would have. My mom started crying even more when he said she was sleeping, a fact that changed his entire story, and my aunt chewed him out, everyone scolding him for his stupidity and asshole behavior, while the officers explained that it sounded like if what he said was true, Lola acted in self-defense, and that not only was what he did juvenile, but one of the officers asked my mom's permission to question him more as his behavior was concerning and they wanted to make sure he wasn't a danger to himself or others. My aunt and I told the cops he was 22 at the same time, an adult, and they didn't need her permission. He looks a lot younger than he is. Upon hearing his age, one of the officers sat down with him and asked him to talk through his thought process, and the other officer explained to my mom and aunt that Lola could press charges given Ian's story. My aunt still looked pissed while my mom cried about being confused and over her baby. My mom literally looked at me and said she didn't understand how her baby could do this. I already knew I was deep in the bull crap of this family, but I realized that I couldn't grow in the earth that poisoned me, and I needed to get away if I was actually going to get better and stay better. My mom kept fussing with my aunt and another uncle on the phone crying over the drama while I texted a friend of mine who lives across the city if I could stay with him. I was feeling overwhelmed with all of them and didn't want to be within a few minutes of the source of the problem. I also wanted to give myself space to think and understand with a clear head. I'm typing this between breaks of me packing. My aunt saw me in my room doing this, but she didn't stop me. She only asked me if I'd spoken to Lola about this, and I told her I haven't yet, but I had plans to later on. She told me she was sorry for believing my brother without listening to any other account and that she hopes Lola is okay. So then it was just me in the apartment. The cops left after taking a statement from my brother and my mom left with my brother, still crying, my brother calling me a jerk, the world's worst brother, and my aunt gave me a hug, apologizing again for how she and her sister acted, and told me that I don't owe her anything, but that she'd like to know that Lola's okay. With everyone gone, I went to my friend's house and I'll be there until further notice. He couldn't make it to the party but he heard about it from multiple people. As far as Lola, yes, I did meet with her yesterday. As excited as I was to see her, I know that most of you were telling me she was going to break up with me, so I'd been preparing for that. Whether I ended up single or not, I wanted to make sure she was okay above all. I know I don't deserve her as a girlfriend, and I'd much rather she not be with me if it meant she was safe. She brought a friend with her and we all sat and talked. I showed them both the Reddit post and Lola has asked that I not share any more information about her until she feels ready herself. She's on Reddit for gaming and general scrolling fairly often and let me know that if she came across this story without me having told her, she would have been pissed. She did however read a lot of the commenters worried about her and wanted me to express to you all that, while upset, hurt, and with mixed up emotions, she is overall okay. She doesn't like that I posted about her without at least giving her a heads up, but after I offered to take the post down, she only asked that I give her time and to leave her personal life and opinions out of anything beyond what I've already said here until she says otherwise. In short, she did break up with me, and when I told her about the police telling us that she could press charges, her friend laughed and told me that they were more than aware. She thanks everyone for their concern and told me she really hopes we both learn from this. This section was approved by her. So yeah, unless I'm forgetting something, that's all I have and can give right now. My mom has been calling and texting me, telling me that this whole ordeal has made Ian and her a wreck and she can't believe I'd let a girl do this to us. I blocked my brother right after he left my apartment, and I just blocked her. My aunt has let me know she'll talk to her, but I don't know how that's gonna go. I understand that it isn't what everyone wants, but none of this is anything I want either. To everyone who has nothing but bad things to say about me, I get it, I'm a jerk. I appreciate any and all advice I've been given. I'm gonna be taking a break from not only the bull crap in my life but this Reddit stuff too. I know I have a lot of growing to do, and I can't do that in this environment. Thank you again to everyone.